short of expectations so far this season. That has something to do with a lack of shooting and perimeter defense, something to do with the fact that Anthony Davis has been hurt, and something to do with the fact that Russell Westbrook has had to adjust to his fourth team in 4 years. I keep saying it, he's never good in the first half. On Wednesday, head coach Frank Vogel sat Westbrook down the stretch, and the Lakers lost to the Pacers. Now people have been speculating about what Russ thinks and how he feels. But as usual, you can see our very own Adrian Wojnarowski has the facts, and there's Shania Gumake. They both join me now from our LA studios. Shania Gumake, well, first, Woj, let me start with you. You spoke to the man, Russell Westbrook himself. What did he tell you?
Well, first, Max, Russell Westbrook was disappointed to get benched Wednesday night in the final minutes of that loss to Indiana. He was surprised by it, but listen, he's trying to figure out with Frank Vogel, with the Lakers, how best to fit in. He believes that he's done everything asked of him this season. And, and you just said it, Max, his fourth team in 4 years. And you saw him get better in Washington, better in Houston as that year went on. He was injured in the bubble, and they didn't finish as strong. But he's really just asking right now for some patience. The Lakers are going to get Anthony Davis back. They haven't played a ton of games together with Davis, LeBron James, and Russell Westbrook. But his view right now is, like, this team still he believes it's going to play its best basketball. And he is just a player right now, trying to find the formula to fit in, and ultimately knows he's going to be judged on winning, and just hopes that, as they get this group back together, they're going to start to find some chemistry. And this will be a team, that is going to improve over time.
By the way, it's very predictable. I was thinking as soon as the trade got made, I'm like, they're not going to be any good in the first half. Everyone's going to say Russell Westbrook's the problem, blah, blah, blah. And in the second half, they'll be saying, is he the second half MVP? It happens every year. Fool me 4 times, shame on me. Woj, I've also always believed that Russell Westbrook gets a bad rap as a teammate, going all the way back to Oklahoma City. It makes me, well, look, I think he cares about winning, right? But he only knows one way, full speed ahead. Did he communicate to you that he's conscious of having a reputation as a less than ideal teammate?
I've talked with Russell Westbrook a lot about that in the past, and I think that perception really does bother him, because anybody who's played with him knows he's a tremendous teammate, really loyal, really instructive to younger players. And listen, there's 2 things here. There's being a great teammate, and then there's style of play. And I think people sometimes have to separate that. But, the impact he had in Washington last year with that young team, the improvement you saw, and I think it's really important. He really puts value on being a great teammate. And I think sometimes people confuse style of play and how a player fits on the court with his impact around a group. And anybody who's been around Russell Westbrook knows, that he is one of the best in that area, and it does matter to him.
Shanae, let me bring you in here because you are a star who knows a little something about fitting in with other stars playing professional basketball in Los Angeles. Please lay out for me what you'd like to see from Russ and the Lakers to get this season back on track.
I think it starts with individually for Russell Westbrook. He has to limit turnovers. He leads the league with 188 in that category. But also, that's the style of play change that you can control. Control what you can't control. That's what we always tell ourselves as athletes. Secondly, collectively as the Lakers, they got to get back to playing defense. This is a team, when they won the championship, they were 3rd in defensive rating. Also, last year, they were 1st in defensive rating. Right now, they're around 20th. So when you're looking about, is it Russ's fault? Is it Frank Vogel's fault? It's a collective issue when it comes to defense, and they'll get help when AD gets back. I think that right now, this is a great opportunity for Russell Westbrook and the Lakers. I mean, with all due respect to the Orlando Magic, they have an opportunity to go out there and play well and play hard and feel good about themselves, because look who they have coming up next. They have the Heat. They have the Nets. They have the Sixers. And Joel Embiid has been a force as of late. So this game coming up is a good confidence booster without AD. All right, defensively, we can be better. Russ, I can limit turnovers, and I can also get back to playing my brand of basketball.
That's a long road. By the way, that's a road trip that you're looking at against those good teams. Although the Nets are playing with home court disadvantage. No KD and now no Kyrie, right? Woj, we know how fans get. And by the way, the Lakers, to me, when they put this together, are 2 3-and-D guys short, right? But if the fans got to choose, there'd be 1 million trades a day and 30 coaches fired a week. You'd never see your family, Woj. They want to keep Woj from seeing his kids. But organizations don't work like that. Do you think a change either on or off the court is on the table with the Lakers right now?
Listen, there's trades the Lakers can make around the edges. I don't know that there's a dramatic move that they can make, that they have the assets to do that. Listen, a lot of their picks are still tied up in the Anthony Davis trade with New Orleans. And, listen, they moved out their assets in Kyle Kuzma, Montrezl Harrell, and KCP to Washington for Russell Westbrook. So, listen, I think there are, again, some deals around the edges, and then maybe the buyout market post-trade deadline. But with the money they have tied up with certainly LeBron and Anthony Davis, and then Russell Westbrook, whose contract is, listen, you never say never, but it doesn't seem to be a market for that now. The Lakers really might have been the last team willing to take that on. So I think the significant help for the Lakers is going to have to come from within. It's going to have to come from getting Kendrick Nunn back and, of course, getting AD back, hopefully, later this month.
I got my eye on Talen Horton-Tucker. He has trade value, but his skills don't exactly fit with what they need right now to try to win a championship right now. I just have my eye on him. Like, what does he get you out there right before the deadline? The great Adrian Wojnarowski, the great Shane Ogumake.
How was Russ after the game? Is that the sort of thing that bothers him?
Have you followed Russ throughout his career?
Not as closely as you have, probably.
Okay. Have you followed Russ throughout this season? Yeah. Would you think that would bother Russ not being in the late game? Okay. A great answer.
LeBron with a Socratic technique with the press. And, of course, Shane Ogumake, who went to Stanford, gets the reference. One of my West Coast connects with me now. Shane, yesterday you told me this Lakers team is not built to win a title. When you hear LeBron in that presser, what do you think?
I'm actually not reading much into what LeBron James said, and I think that was his point. He's someone that leads with his actions, both on and off the court, than his words. And he's always been, and part of that presser was him saying that I'm a positive person, and we know that. He is a positive leader, and he's a pass-first leader. All of that positivity comes out in different ways, and that's why his version of being one of the greatest players is by a myriad of stats. And so by him not saying a lot, to me just says he's taking his teammates back and finding a way. The way you wear those amazing tailored suits, Max Kellerman, he tailors his leadership the same way for each person differently, right? So I see this as LeBron just going to keep all the business in-house because he's been doing his part. It's now galvanizing others to do theirs as well.
Shane, I've been saying since this trade was made, like, I get what the Lakers are doing. Not Buddy Hield, he's a better shooter, he fits better. This is the island of misfit toys, but the history of the NBA is get the best player, right? You get 3 great players together, they'll figure it out. And Westbrook, in the first half of every season, 4 consecutive seasons now, new team, new teammates, he's no good anymore. Second half, he figures it out, catches fire. What's the one thing you'd like to see Westbrook change? And improving shooting doesn't count. I mean, something within his control.
What I would like to see Russell Westbrook change, obviously he's a point guard. Number 1 is limit turnovers. He leads the NBA so far this season with 188 turnovers. Second, right behind, is James Harden for some context on his usage and what he's been able to do. 2, I want him to find creative ways to create assists. And that does not mean by passing. Sometimes that means screening. Because people, as you're seeing, he has a large distance between the guy who's supposedly closing out. And so it's like, all right, instead of just forcing a shot, which is what they want me to take, maybe I do a dribble handoff and give that space to the next shooter. And then lastly, do what he does best. Use his motor. And I think right now the Lakers, they're really struggling on defense. If he can be more active and step up to those assignments, I know that was a big issue of concern guarding Karis LeVert yesterday. If he can step up to those assignments and do those 3 things, that'll put the Lakers in a much better position.